So they restored 3 out of 4 of these Yamanaka factors just recently at Harvard University. And they took mice that are blind. Now they had glaucoma, so the nerves are gone. And they reversed the aging and they can see again. It's the first time in history.
So the nerves actually regrew?
Regrew. There's gene therapies right now of people that are being able to see again for the very first time. I mean, there's something called the Wnt pathway you may have heard of, WNT pathway. I heard about this for the first time 3.5 years ago when I was at the Vatican. This man walks out and, I'm sitting beside Sanjay Gupta, who's a pretty informed guy, a really great guy, and Dr. Oz are both good friends of mine. And he's researching, he's really quiet, there's no hype. And then he starts to describe how they, figured out the code of the Wnt pathway. And the Wnt pathway, after you're born, and the first 7 to 10 days, if you cut off a child's finger and you don't sew it back up, it'll regrow just like a salamander's tail. But then after that time, we don't have fetal tissue anymore. Everything else you call you is coming from this Wnt signaling pathway. It tells the stem cells make this many brain stem cells, heart stem cells, et cetera. And for 30 years, pharmaceutical companies have been trying to figure out the breakthrough. This particular company has figured out breakthroughs. Now they're in I'm sure phase 1 is safety at the FDA, phase 2 is efficacy, and phase 3 is efficacy at scale. And then you get approved. So they're at the end of phase 2, about to begin phase 3. They hope by the end of this year they'll be done. But in the preliminary information, here's one of their treatments, 1 injection, single injection. And if you have osteoarthritis, over the next 10 to 12 months, you regrow all your tendons brand new from stem cells. And it's from a new epigenome, like when they made Dolly, when they duplicated,
cloned the sheep
way back when, right? Well, how did this old sheep create a brand new sheep without all those problems? Because the epigenome gets reset. So they figured out how to make that happen through your Wnt pathway, and it has all kinds of impact. There's 8 different cancers that they're working on treatments for. There are things that'll just blow your mind. So I couldn't give you one thing. There's spray on stem cells, like, most people don't know it, but if a fireman or policeman or someone falls into a fire and you burn your face off, we've all seen people who are scarred for life. The standard treatment is to put cadaver skin on there for you to try to keep you alive and make things go. They now have in 7 hospitals in the United States where they can take your stem cells and spray them on your face. And I have them in the book. The pictures will blow your mind. From grotesque to you could barely tell anything happened in a period of 3 weeks. Jesus. I mean, it is mind-boggling. So there are things that can increase your energy. Right now, there is a study being done. You probably are familiar with the fact, as I started to say, that your breakdown happens in the epigenome, but also the energy centers of your body start to get weaker over time. And there are now new discoveries of how to stimulate the body so that that epigenome cleans itself off, like gets rid of the static, makes it clean again. In other words, does repair while simultaneously firing off the furnaces of energy in your body. And one of the studies, there have been a lot of animal studies, obviously, and they don't always translate. So you have to be careful about animal studies. They're intriguing, but we don't know for sure until you do with humans. And in the animal studies, an old rat, which I forget how many months it is, but let's call it a 60-year-old rat would be the equivalent for a human. It can run like 1/4 of a kilometer on one of those tracks. A young rat can run a full kilometer. The ones that they test here that are older can run 3 to 4 kilometers once they've had this for literally 20 days. But what's really cool is it wasn't supposed to be released, but it's in the book. There's a group from the Special Forces that was done in Boston. They just finished the first study a year long, and they're seeing similar results with human beings. So we'll know more, but they're not going for this as a nutraceutical. This is going for actually a drug, which should be easier as a nutraceutical, but most of those nutraceuticals don't last. They don't hold up. This one, they believe, will. So for energy, for vitality, for your mind, I mean, it's more than you can imagine. It's 700 pages. That give you an idea. Like you said, I write tomes.
These are getting longer and longer here, Tony, which is amazing, by the way. And the way that you're approaching it, going after the experts, and also that this is stuff that you're already immersed in, the fact that you're taking your own injury and turning that into something. And a few years ago, and maybe I was worrying for nothing, but I